Assalamu alaikum. How are all of you? I hope fine. Well, in the world history, there are a few lines which are very famous. For example, the Abraham Lincoln saying, democracy is the government of the people, for the people, by the people, or the Napoleons saying that if you give me a strong, if you give me educated nation, I will give you strong country, or the some other personalities, famous quotations. One amongst these is the former German Chancellor Adolf Hitler's famous quotation that I wanted to eliminate all the Jews, but I left few of them just to know why I killed so many. Just to let you know that why I killed so many. This is a proverb which actually has been associated with the former German Chancellor, Mr. Adolf Hitler, who actually died in May 1945 in an underground bunker, which was his underground chancellery at that point. In fact, Mr. Adolf Hitler used to write diary, as the quotation actually has been quoted from his diary. It is an extract from his diary. But in reality, he has never written these words with his own handwriting. The reality is that when Mr. Adolf Hitler died, or he committed suicide, as the case was in reality, some persons actually, let me say, manipulated a few writings in his diary, and some actually added a few more. Some deleted, in fact, overwritten and cutting was made. A lot of writings and cuttings were made in his diaries, and this line is one amongst those manipulations. Mr. Adolf Hitler was in fact against Jews. This is, let me say, something which actually is a universal truth. But in the many instances, he himself was not personally involved in the entire or the full number of killings of the Jews. Even the 6 million Jews being killed in the Holocaust in itself is a controversial figure. Some say that it was not as this much, and some even doubt the real existence of the Holocaust in itself. But no matter what happened during the Holocaust, the truth is that Holocaust was not the solo brainchild of Mr. Adolf Hitler. He had in the past initiated some ideas, some inceptions actually were related to him, which advocate the Jews' elimination from the German society by any way. But as far as the Holocaust or the gas chambers and the concentration camps are concerned, these were actually the collective efforts of the Nazi establishment. Mr. Hitler, being the head of such an establishment and administration, although is responsible and it is inevitable that he was completely kept unaware of the situation, but in many instances he was only a figurehead, and things were being run by um, uh, an entire governmental machinery, which actually is totally not under his own control. The governments throughout the world, actually, the such type of governments where the method of election or selection is not 100% pure democratic, or the administration is not fully accountable to the general public. They have no, let me say, fear of being not elected or being thrown to the courts for accountability. If this happens throughout the world, wherever it may happen, in China, in Germany, in Japan, in Russia, in the United States, in the Britain, wherever such a regime comes into force, things such like things like the Holocaust or some other activities in this particular exemplary methods are almost always there. For example, we may recount the 70 years of the, let me say, communist regime in Russia or former Soviet Union. You can actually name innumerous such events, like concentration camps in Siberia for different kind of people, like other things. So actually, the let's say execution, summary trials, some non-judicial executions, missing people, wherever there is a regime which is no matter how it came, but when it comes into power and when it actually takes control of the country by any means, when they are in such a control that the fear of public accountability and the judicial system is lost, what is left? Whenever the fear of accountability is lost, you see, only injustice is left. Injustice. There is always a vacuum. If you let the judicial system do its work and let it does its job fairly, justice is always there. But when justice is taken out of the society, injustice takes in. And when injustice is there, the events like killings and all such things are almost always there. Confiscation of public properties and lootings, robberies, killings, exterminations, missings, and without trial, long duration of imprisonment. So almost all such things are there. So when it comes to the Adolf Hitler, and when it comes to his famous quotation that I could have killed the entire Jewish population, but I left some of them just to let you know why I killed so many. Mm, in the first instance, he actually had no, let me say, control over the entire Jewish population at that time. Jewish population throughout the world, it was scattered from Japan to United States. So it wasn't within his control that he could have eliminated the entire Jewish population. In fact, you see, numerous efforts have been throughout the history being made by different people, different kings, and different rulers to eliminate particular sectors of the society. But none of them could have ever done so successfully. For example, if we take the example of the Jews, from the earliest times when Babylonians came and destroyed their temples and killed many of them. They even, when they were tired of killing so many, they started, let me say, uh, pulling them out of their country and inhabiting them in the Babylonia. But they never succeeded in eliminating the entire population of the Jews. Romans came afterwards. Even Muslims tried to eliminate the Jews. I, being a Muslim, I must admit that we actually tried in the past these things. But later on, the Ottomans forcefully stopped the inhabitation of Jews in the Holy Lands, but none could succeed. Even the in the last, the Germans, the Nazi party, did its best to eliminate the Jews, but they even couldn't eliminate them from the German society in itself, let alone to talk about the elimination of the Jews from the entire world. But Jews survived through different tactics, different kind of strategies. They survived. They actually had the potential to survive, and they, you see, in the survival of the Jews, there is a great lesson for Muslims, particularly the Muslims of this day. The current scenario of the Muslims, they are in fact so much in troubles. There are so many troubles for the Muslims as far as the financial debts and other things are concerned, mismanagement is concerned, as far as the factor of the loyalty and unity. All such things are there in the Muslim societies. We Muslims are fortunately the owners of the richest resources of the world, the greater resources of the world, the greater armies of the world, the superior martial forces of the world, and we have. I'm not talking about my own country, Pakistan. I'm talking about the entire Muslim society from Morocco to Indonesia. We, despite having greater cultural differences, we are the owners of greatest cultures. We are the owners of the greatest resources and the financial, and we actually are not only financial and minerals, but we are actually inhabiting and occupying so many strategic places in the world that we may even be able to rule the entire world. But what is actually happening? Almost daily we are killing each other. Our bullets are being used to eliminate one amongst others, one amongst us. So this is actually very bad, and the lesson for the Muslims in the current scenario should be drawn from the history of the Jews. How did they survive? In fact, even the Jews had different tribes. They had enmities amongst themselves. There were differences. You see, prior to the establishment of the Jewish state, or let's say prior to the initiation of the Zionism movement, the Jews even couldn't. I'm not talking about 100% of them, but many of the Jews even couldn't talk in the Hebrew language. Let's say some of them, wherever they used to live, they used to speak even inside their homes. They used to speak their own language, so the local language, like Hindi, Chinese, Japanese, German, and so on and so forth. But when the establishment of the initiation of the Zionist movement started, the first among few things they did, they actually revived the Hebrew language, and that Hebrew language was enforced in the Hebrew communities throughout the world in such a way that it became, let's say, binding force between them. The the Jews started Hebrew schools, even within their houses. They started learning Hebrew language, and first of all, they tried to eliminate their own tribal differences. We Muslims are actually promoting our tribal differences. We say that I am belonging to this tribe, you are belonging to that tribe, we are different. But the Jews say, no. If you are a son of a Jew, no matter what is your skin color, no matter what is your cultural background, since you are a Jew, you are one amongst us. So this is a lesson for the Muslims, which actually should be drawn from the Jews, although we in many cases feel them as our enemies, but there should always be lessons taken from the enemy's quarter as well. So we Muslims should look at the Jewish history. We should adopt many of their surviving techniques. We should adopt many of their techniques which they used for ruling the world. This is actually their greater success, that they are actually ruling the world through different things, different strategies. So we should actually look for these strategies and adopt them for our own survival. We should not be enemies to any part of the world society or world culture diaspora, but we should try to survive ourselves. So okay, thanks, goodbye, Allah Hafiz.